Atray, and this is Atul Khosla. We need another minute, ma'am, before we go live. We are now
Perfect.
live on YouTube. So good morning, everyone. My name is Atul Khosla. I am the founder and Pro-Vice Chancellor at Shulini University in Kasali Hills. We have Vivek Atray with us. He's an ex-IS officer, TEDx speaker, also visiting faculty at Shulini University. Vivek will speak a lot and I won't get the opportunity to speak, and I'm a professor, so I have to take a minute speaking and then I'll hand it over to you, Anju.
Yeah, sure.
My background, I am a graduate from IIT Kanpur. After that, did an MBA and spent 20 odd years in the industry in consulting, especially with companies like McKinsey and Company across the world. And sometime around 2013, the teaching bug hit me, and I joined Shulini, which my father had founded actually. And I've been a teacher and a very proud teacher since then. I call myself a Garib Adhyapak because I have no money left, but I've never been happier. So with that, I'll hand it over to you, ma'am, to introduce us. And
Thank you, sir.
Vivek to pick it up from there. We have also two small videos as part of the presentation, which Vivek will take us through. So over to you, ma'am.
Yeah, good morning. A very, very good morning to you all. On behalf of the management and staff of Angels Valley Rajpura, I would like to extend a heartfelt greetings to all the panelists present today, especially the eminent speaker, Mr. Vivek Atray. He needs no introduction, of course. He's an amazing motivational speaker, among many other appreciable achievements. I have had a personal experience to hear him on various platforms, and it's been a pleasure. He's the Pro-Vice Chancellor, Shulini University, as he just introduced, a teacher, and we, since we're in the same profession, I would say it's a very noble task, sir. And I think in today's times, nobody has the money. So we are almost on the same plateau.
It's all about happiness, and Vivek will talk about it, success with it.
Yeah.
Always guides me. It's all about happiness and not about
absolutely. And we absolutely thank you for giving us this platform to share the ideas that would strategize success for schools, especially in the times of online learning. Over to you, sir. Thanks a ton.
Ma'am, I'll request you to go on mute, and also if you can switch off video as Vivek starts. Thank you. Over to you, Vivek.
Thank you very much, and welcome to this session. Thank you, Atul, for the introduction, and Ma'am Anju Mehta for the welcome. In fact, very warm welcome to all the faculty members of the school, and to Shulini for hosting this session. Thank you very much, because I realize how important it is to keep connected in these times, and technology is helping us to do that. And we are holding these sessions frequently and regularly on very interesting topics. So it's a delight for me to be speaking on these varied topics. And today's topic is extremely interesting. And it is about how to balance human experience and artificial intelligence, which is a topic which I've been writing about and speaking about recently. So we'll head straight to the topic, and let me first tell you a little story from my days of being a child in London. My father was posted in the High Commission there when I was a 7-year-old to 10-year-old. So 3 years we were there. And I remember my mother would go to the supermarket, take me along, and she would be so sharp with her mathematical skills that by the time she got to the counter with about 6 or 7 items that she had purchased, to pay the amount, she knew exactly what the bill was and how much she had to pay, because she had made her calculation. And those were the days when the salaries were very moderate, and we were talking about salaries a little while ago. It is very, very clear in my memory that she was very careful with buying stuff which was not very expensive. And let's say the amount was £4.50, she would be ready with the exact change. And the lady at the counter needed the calculator and the machine to come up with the same answer, because she was not used to using her brain or mind for calculations. And Indians, anyway, we used to be very good at maths, still are. But the way we were taught these tables and calculations, mental mathematics in childhood, made her a very sharp calculator, my mother. So the lady would be very surprised, and I remember that incident very clearly today when most of us cannot remember 10-digit numbers. And I must share with you that while being in service for the last, I was there for about 25 years in the government, and mobile phones came in around 2000, the year 2000. And when mobile phones came till 2017, I was in the government. I could not remember numbers, and it was not required also because you have your numbers saved everywhere. However, after taking my voluntary retirement, and I guess the clutter in my mind has eased, now I'm able to recall 10-digit numbers very easily. OTPs which come on the SMS, I remember them pretty easily. So it also depends on how much you utilize your mind, that you depend less on technology. But the bigger picture of this is that Yuval Noah Harari, who is the author of Sapiens and Homo Deus and 21 Ideas for the 21st Century, one of the main authors of this era and an Oxford professor from Israel, he has summed it up very well by saying that mankind is progressing towards a higher era in every way, all these glitches of virus and all notwithstanding. And we are going to an era where mankind will focus on things like longevity, like music, like art and research, and the higher thoughts. And things like war, plague, and famine are not going to be a part of man's future. And already you can see war, plague, and famine have decreased in the world, although we are plagued, so to say, with this virus and its effects. But these are not going to be things that last. So Yuval Noah Harari is the best-selling author of the world today. In Homo Deus, he clearly writes that artificial intelligence will make mankind's lives much easier. But as a technologist myself, to some extent, I'm an electronics engineer from NIT Kurukshetra. Atul, of course, is from IIT Kanpur. So we are engineers. We can look at the perspective, which means that artificial intelligence will only keep growing. And all the chips that are there, the integrated circuits which were used earlier, which are still used to make smartphones and computers and other gadgets, they are getting smarter and smarter. And a time may even come, and I don't want to scare the teachers or the principal of the school, that we may have a chip in our wrist. And that chip in the wrist means that we won't need a phone, we won't need a computer. There is a time, not in the very far future, where this chip will be a part of our body. It could even be something to do with our retina or our wrist. And therefore, we will become semi-automated because technology is not stopping. We know the fact about driverless cars. India has resisted driverless cars at the moment, but they have been tested in Europe and America and Japan, and these cars are coming to stay. And we know that the Uber driver and the Ola driver and other people who depend on their livelihood by driving, they are worried about it, and job losses are also possible. But then, on the other hand, we used to say, when computers came even in the government, that if we bring in computers, then people will lose their jobs. However, that has not happened. So technology goes at its own pace and jobs remain the same, or they innovate. So people who were doing something else earlier are now using computers to be productive in their own way. Someone who would do manual calculations earlier is using Tally now to do the same thing in a more productive way. Technology has helped it. I'll give you an incident from my government days when I was Director Public Relations of Chandigarh. We used to send press notes when I joined by carbon copy. So somebody would type out in 2000 a note, and carbon copies would be delivered to various newspapers by hand. And the Tribune would accept press notes only till 6:30 p.m. And after that, it would not be published the next day. So we had to rush it. And after that, when we started using computers, when we started emailing press notes, even stopped emailing, we just posted them on our website and people would download them. The job of the newspapers became easier because they didn't have to type out the press note again, and they just used to modify it to their suitability. But I must also tell you that automation has led to a lot of problems as well. We know that the Y2K bug, when 2000 came, when the year 2000 came, was a big scare for the world, that everything would go kaput and things would stop functioning. And India's IT wave started at that time. So technology brings with it scares as well as progress, but it brings more progress than scares. And also, if you look at science fiction movies, then they are predicting even that machines may take control of the world. We have already had Sophia speaking at IIT Mumbai and even at TIE Chandigarh, a robot which could speak, which could actually give a speech. And if motivational speakers like me are to retain their jobs and livelihood, then these robots have to be stopped from becoming motivational speakers at least. But they are going to be very useful in various ways. We've seen even in the COVID crisis that hospitals are using robots to treat people, or at least to carry out tasks which are simple and which can be performed by them. And even in airports, they have been used, or in hotels, to offer a welcome drink where social distancing norms are to be maintained. So therefore, there are machines which are going to replace a lot of manual tasks that people do, and also tasks which are a little more superior. What does this all mean for teachers and schools? You are aware of blended learning. Now, blended learning basically means that we are using automation and technology and multimedia, whatever you use in your schools, but we are also retaining the human element. And the human element of a teacher being in contact with the students is vital. You know that students look up to the teacher, or they learn from the teacher's personality, the aura which a teacher has, or at least they should. So that human contact of being inspired by a teacher in the classroom is something that cannot be done away with. And a machine or a video or technology can inform, but may not be able to inspire to that extent when the teacher is in the room. I am speaking to you from Panchkula, you are in Rajpura, Atul is in Solan. This is great. I mean, it's fantastic. But I know that if I was in your school right now, or if you were in Shulini and I was speaking over there in the same hall, the impact of a speaker of what is being learned is superior. So blended learning means that we blend technology with human beings and teaching becomes balanced. Haryana government of India, etc. have also used EduSat and other things to bring in classes. Punjab has also done it, but the same kind of consistency can be brought in, however the human element is required. At another level, when you are sitting with your colleague in the faculty room, or when you are sitting with your family, that one-to-one expression, conversation, exchange, idea exchange, emotions, these things can only be done at the human level. And human experiences are diminishing in that level. We never call on people anymore. We used to go as a couple or as a family to meet family friends in the evening for a cup of tea and sit and have pakoras and chai for an hour. We would have gupshup. That kind of trend has reduced. We used to call up our relatives and wish them on their birthdays or anniversaries. Now we don't call them up. We wish them on WhatsApp. So even the call has declined. That verbal communication has reduced. Text communication has increased. And the main crux of the matter is that the youngest generation, that is the students who are in school, they are wedded to technology. They are living in technology. They are on Instagram all the time. They are on WhatsApp all the time. So you and I may be able to balance our lives to some extent. But those kids who are brought up with gadgets, and I remember my younger daughter is now 23, but when she was 2 years old or 1.5, we would make her sit and watch nursery rhymes on the TV. And she would go on watching them for hours. And I realize now that that was technology, but it was too much for her. And we should allow these kids to not be playing too much with gadgets in childhood. And we should balance out their social media somehow and tell them that go for a walk, go into nature. And perhaps schools can also increase the amount of time spent outdoor in learning. So one of my chief secretaries used to say in a meeting on education that however much you might describe a leaf in the class or a flower in the class, in a botany class, you go outdoors and show them the flowers and the leaves and experience the texture of the leaf or the flower, and they will understand much more. So that kind of learning is required today. And weaning away these students from social media to some extent also depends on if they are playing outdoor sports. So to balance artificial intelligence and human experience, we need to spend more time outdoors. If we spend more time, even at your age or my age, in physical activity outdoors, then we will sleep on time. This is a major dilemma for the world today. People don't sleep enough. People don't sleep on time. If you see the last scene on WhatsApp of your children, you'll be worried they slept at 2:30 or 3 a.m. Why? If they in fact they switch off their last scene so that the parents can't see. So what happens? We are so much into the social media because our physical bodies are not tired enough. The mind is tired and the mind remains awake. They're not able to sleep and they keep waiting for that friend to respond at after midnight or after 2 a.m. also. So what we need to do is to make them play outdoors a little more, tire out the body physically and sleep earlier. Even for us, physical exercise, oxygen, non-air conditioned environment is vital. If we are to balance our lives, then we need to be with nature a little more. We have seen in this crisis that nature has cleaned up its act. Nature has become virtually pure. I mean, the skies are so beautiful. It is so great to breathe the air which is there. North India has seen its clearest skies in 20 years. So with this development, if we adopt a trend of being friends with nature once more, going out into the outdoors a little more, it will help us to wean away our minds from technology. And we also need to make sure that students retain their sharpness in the mind. So if intelligence is to be developed, then calculations and basics need to be learned without using Google or without using calculators. So when two people are having an argument today, that argument can finish in a minute because that argument means that a discussion. Now, for example, me and my wife often have a discussion that this particular thing, no, this fruit comes from this particular place, let's say, or the history of this particular person was this. If I Google, then the argument is finished because Mr. Google knows more than us. So he will one way or the other tell us that you are right and you are wrong. So the discussion, the debate, the kind of exercise of the mind is reduced to a minimum. So therefore, even in projects which the children make, they need to be encouraged to think, to bring out outcomes from their projects which are not dependent solely on technology-enabled research. You know that Shulini is a great university for research and creativity, and I'm going to talk about creativity in the second half, but I'm going to hand over to Atul for showing us a short video on creativity and how Shulini has encouraged research by using the great methods of research. And this one is on water. It's a short video which will show you how Shulini is encouraging research. Yeah, over to you, Atul.
Thank you, Vivek. We just wanted to give an example of how you can use technology to really push the boundaries of your students. So very quickly, many of you might not know, but we are a very deep research and innovation-led university. As we speak, Shulini has the highest number of patents of any university in India, which means it's even higher than the IITs, and we've been pushing that through our students. So I'll show a small video about some work, which is a path-breaking work done on water. It's a PhD student. Her name is Aman. Aman is from Punjab. She did her BTech and then MTech and PhD from Shulini. She comes from a lesser privileged family from, I think, Hoshiarpur in Punjab. Was a troubled child. First BTech, first 4 years were very, very tough for her. But the work that she's done on water is absolutely path-breaking. She was awarded as the World Water Fellow, which is a UN-sponsored award out of more than 100,000 applicants across the world who had applied. She spent 6 months in Geneva. She's also won a 25 lakh project from the Tatas and Lockfield Corporation. So here's the video about water, and then I'll talk 1 minute more about how to stretch people's creativity in these times. Give me 1 second to start it. Thank you. So quickly, what did the team do? They were able to leverage knowledge from the web. We were able to stretch the creativity of the professors and the students by challenging them, making them dream, and magic happened. And I think that's the beauty when you can combine creativity and technology together. I believe, Vivek, that what's going to happen post-COVID is what I call democratization of learning. So you don't have to be in Delhi or New York or Bombay or London to get the best learning. You can actually get the best learning now, whether you're sitting in Rajpura or you're sitting in Solan or Arki or any other part of the world. And I think that's the biggest change that's going to happen. So if you can inculcate values, me skills, we skills to our students, the world will be at their feet. Over to you, Vivek.
Thank you, Atul, for that. A very inspiring video, and how amazing is the work being done by Shulini Research, and that is the focus of the university. So coming back to the topic again, creativity is something which students can really utilize to their benefit, and that makes them less automated in the mind. So I'm going to introduce a term here. We are talking about social distancing nowadays, of being physically apart. But if we can actually encourage students to do some mental distancing from technology, so if they distance their minds from social media for a while and start thinking creatively as to how they can be into music more, into writing, into art, into photography, things like that, then what happens is that people, these young people, are able to start thinking beyond their borders. Otherwise, Nobel laureates or award-winning writers or famous artists or research scientists will not be creative if they are all wedded so much and absorbed so much in utilizing technology for their learning skills. And these social emotional learning skills that are very prevalent and required to be there in the education system. Yesterday, we were talking about parents and teachers and students, and how this three-way community should depend on each other and share and exchange ideas on how they can make the lives of these children in your schools more balanced, more aware and alert, and emotional intelligence, to be able to see that I am on the computer in my office, but the person sitting next to me is not feeling well today or is looking low and sad. Am I so much absorbed in my technology world that I'm not even able to notice my neighbor not feeling himself? So this kind of human experience has to be retained, and creative mindsets will enable that. Creative mindsets which think differently, which look at the picture differently, which keep on wondering how I can improve efficiency, how I can improve this person's quality of life. There are so many adaptations which are going to take place in the post-virus world. I was noticing today, people have already started sending images of ladies wearing suits with a matching mask. And Sachin Tendulkar yesterday in a video said that my mask is going to carry the number 10 because that was the number he wore while he was playing his cricket. So imagination and creativity have no bounds. But if artificial intelligence limits that imagination and creativity, then human beings are going to become semi-automatons. And that will mean that thinking and really creating new ideas will diminish. And you know that countries like Israel is a country which is really, really in the forefront of technology. And so many of these, I have a book here on Israel, and how many Nobel laureates are from Israel. This is Israel in the world. There's a book I have. And basically, if you think, it is a country which encourages research to the extent that is mind-boggling. And in India, if Shulini University can do it, then why can't other universities and institutions do so? I would encourage your school to actually make 9th class, 10th class, even junior students think differently. And whenever they have projects or exhibitions or whatever they do, they should be encouraged. And ideas which are wild and different should also be encouraged at times. And students will then be able to take up new paths, new learnings, which will be very useful. So I'm just going to tell you a little story which will highlight what I'm trying to say, and how people do not have presence of mind in this era. And you may have heard it, and I know Shulini has heard it, but I'm going to repeat it because it's so telling. So Albert Einstein, the great scientist, was traveling across the US to deliver lectures on the theory of relativity, which is his theory, and E is equal to mc square, which you have heard about. So he would go to one town and another town and another town and deliver the same lecture for 1.5 hours. And the driver was the same who used to carry him from one school to one university to another. And every day they would stop at the night halt there and go to the next university the next day. Now 24 towns he visited for the same lecture. And after 24 towns, he was going to the 25th. The driver had not said a word for 24 days. But now suddenly the driver said that, Mr. Einstein, I've heard your lecture 24 times sitting at the back of the hall. I think even I can deliver this lecture now. So Einstein is quite amazed by this driver's offer, or the boldness which he has. But he's so excited. He says, great, I will become the driver. You become Einstein. They don't know how I look. This was the early 20th century. And they reach the place, small university town. The head of the university comes out and receives the driver with flowers. And Einstein goes and sits at the back of the hall like a driver. And he starts listening. And this driver delivers a perfect lecture on the theory of relativity. He's on the stage for 1.5 hours. And he does a brilliant job of it. Totally flawless. And everybody applauds, everybody claps, and everybody, Einstein is the loudest in applauding and clapping, so excited to hear the driver giving this lecture. But in the front row, there is somebody very senior who's also a professor, and he asks the driver a question which is most complicated, which is very, very complex. But the driver, look at the presence of mind. He says, oh, this question is so simple that I am going to ask my driver to answer this. And I can't hear your laughter, but you would be smiling and laughing at this, because this man has the gumption and confidence to not only deliver a speech, but is also able to deliver, to retain that presence of mind and say that my driver will answer it. Of course, the driver knows all the answers because he's Einstein. Now, maybe he was arrested later or whatever, caught, not arrested, but and Google will tell you the entire story. But let me tell you that this kind of level-headedness, this kind of mental balance, this kind of presence of mind is required by us in stressful situations. And these stressful situations will definitely come to us. All teachers, they have to balance their lives. If I talk about you, you are looking after your family, you're probably making breakfast in the morning, tiffins for everybody. And I know the men folk don't help that much. And you'll be rushing to school, and children will be, children will be rushing off as well. And once they come back from school, they have their demands. And during your school day, you have so much work. Later, you have copies to check or tests, and you are multitasking all the time. So your mind needs to be sharp. Your emotional intelligence needs to be high, because under pressure, under stress, we often collapse. And this stress can come from this virus, or it can come from normal lifestyles. Today's 2020 lifestyle is so fast and so hectic that we are in the middle of really a kind of rat race. And this, in fact, this lockdown has given us a chance to reflect. So I'm going to urge you, teachers, especially ladies and gentlemen, to sit down and reflect as to where your life is headed in the bigger picture. Whether you are using your creativity in your own lives, whether you are encouraging your children and your students to do so, whether you are too much into technology or social media, and whether you are finding time to read books or listen to music or practice your creativity, whatever you have within you. To be an all-rounder is what matters. If you are unidimensional, even if you are a history teacher and you are, supposing you know how to play the guitar, or supposing you know how to paint, it is something that brings a new dimension. So I would encourage you to use this lockdown period to introspect and analyze your mind and think how you can actually be more creative and more in the present. There is a big wave nowadays of mindfulness being the great aim and goal of people. So mind wandering happens when we are not in the present moment, and mind wandering happens when we go too much into the past or the future. So we have to utilize our mind to bring it back to the present. And concentration, with the children also need, their minds are also wandering. They're not listening to the lecture in the class, or they're not reading the page carefully, whatever they're reading. So mind wandering needs to be tackled. And it can be tackled if more interest is created in what is being learned, and if that mindfulness is practiced. And mindfulness, I always say, and in each topic I bring it to meditation. If you meditate morning and evening, then your human experiences will improve, your calmness will improve, your stress management will improve, your creativity will improve. And children also. In fact, my wife runs a school for toddlers in Panchkula, and she makes these kids sit down for 5 minutes in the morning, and they love it. And they are all the teachers make the 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, and 5-year-olds actually meditate. And they may not meditate. They may look here and there, or snigger, or laugh, or open their eyes, but they know that this is meditation time. So they get into the habit. And if teachers are practicing meditation also, then it makes life much more worth living. Because being calmly active and actively calm is what Paramahansa Yogananda said. And I totally believe that we can be calmly active and actively calm. It is something which gives us that presence of mind, that balance. And we've been talking in previous sessions about anger management, stress management, how we can be more calm. We have to work on our calmness and read good books. Yesterday was World Book Day, and I was in the papers, I think, with this book, The Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda. And I must tell you that Shulini has a great Yogananda library. It is a beautiful campus. You must go and visit it. And this book, or any other book of great thinkers, great philosophers, spiritual books, will help you to balance your lives. We need to be balanced. We need to be not unidimensional. We need to be all-rounders. We need to have creativity, and we need to have happiness from within. Atul mentioned that I'm going to talk about that. And I will, because materialistic pursuits, they cannot give you permanent happiness. However much money or fame or power a person gains, it has to ultimately come down to what are you thinking from within and how much happiness you're feeling from within. Even the poorest street urchin, you've seen children on the road playing with water, dirty water, and they're laughing and giggling and happy. Whereas a top CEO executive in Bombay or New York is struggling with mindsets which are troubling him. And therefore, we have to balance our lives and find that little joy, that little happiness. I must promote my book also. My book has just come out recently. It is called Finding Success Within, and it has 52 life skills for young people. I have read out from this book on a video on YouTube as well, 4 chapters, and we had a book launch before the lockdown. But what I am going to urge you is to tell your youngsters to read books more and more. And my book contains 52 skills of the kinds I'm talking about, which will help them to balance their lives and truly find success. Because success is a factor of so many composites, but we have to really focus on the bigger and larger picture, which children don't. And they get stressed out because they have to get admission into IIT or engineering, and parents start comparing them with others, and this pressure mounts. So they really have to find that calmness and peace within. I think we are now at about 40 minutes nearing up of the session, and I would request Atul to perhaps moderate the question answer session. I see a lot of comments already and on the chat, and these are probably about the Einstein episode as far as I could read. Yeah, well said and great anecdote, and thank you, Atul and Anjuji, and also from Kajal and Rashmi ma'am. So thank you. Over to you, and Khushwant Kaur ma'am also.
Thank you, Vivek. I think I wanted to just give my small story in half a minute, and I'll request all the teachers to please post their questions so that we can, make Vivek's life a little more difficult. Ask him some tough questions. But very quickly about my life, I was always a bit of a challenge student. I never did very well in my 10th or 12th, but some magic happened in the 12th. I got into IIT. I think I studied hard. And the reason I did that was because of some inspiring teachers. Some inspiring teachers changed my life. The future of India, I believe, is in the youth of the country. The future of the world is in the youth of the country. And when you look at the biggest change agents that have ever happened in the world, they've actually been the youth. They've been the young people who've actually ignited new ideas. And that's plainly simply my passion, the passion of Shulini. So we've got a small video which I wanted to share over here. I wanted to thank all of you as teachers, because you're the ones who inspire students. You're the ones who are creating world beaters every day. It's a very tough job, I know. It's many times not very well appreciated. All I can say is that I come from a family of teachers. My nana was a teacher. My mom is a teacher. I'm a teacher. So there's no better feeling than being a teacher and changing the world with the young people. So here's a small video for all of you, and then we get into the Q&A. Give me 1 second to play it. Sorry, that's not the one. Apologies for this. I got the wrong one. 1 second, let me hope I can bring this up. Oh, I hope, give me 1 second, friends. Sorry for this. Vivek, I think I'm being troubled possibly by technology. Let me see if I can play it.
Okay.
I had everything sorted out, but technology just fails. You're talking about technology.
Maybe you can send the video to ma'am and she'll share it with the teachers later.
Yeah, I can possibly do that. Right. So I'll try to fix things, and in the interim, why don't we get into Q&A?
Okay, so I have a few comments here, and
Oh, actually, I could try again. Give me one more try.
Sure. Yeah, audio is required.
Yes.
Throughout history, the young have always been the ones to shape the future. And they continue to do so today. You are the country's biggest asset, our best bet to conquer the future. So what are you waiting for? Your time to dream is now. Dream of the research that can change the world. Dream of a high-flying corporate career. Dream of higher studies in the world's best universities. Dream of developing cutting-edge technology of the future. Dream of your own global startup. Surely University, we empower you and enable you to chase your dreams and change the world. Surely University, think learning, think success.
Thank you. Over to you, Vivek.
Beautiful video and highlighting how young people can achieve amazing things in this world. And yes, I must hand over to the principal. Would you like to say a few words and ask a few questions, and maybe you can switch on your video now? Anju ma'am.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was indeed very, very inspiring. I would say that we absolutely endorse with what you did say, sir, because we are also going big way into, innovation. We are encouraging our kids to read books. I'm sure we'll partake of the meditation aspect, absolutely, because we do try doing that also. But, the times are such that children's concentration span definitely gets hampered in the process. So we are trying to build up on their concentration levels and the calmness, as you call, actively calm and calmly active is going to be the next mantra that we're going to adopt. Blended learning, I would say, is amazing because, these times have taught us one thing, that online learning is not that bad at all. We are living in such times that I think we need to be grateful that we can reach and connect to our kids even in today's times.
Yes.
And yes, when the lockdown does, when it ends, we are going to make sure that this online learning also becomes a part of our everyday curricular, the dissemination of learning, whatever happens, online learning also becomes a part of that. I would want if any of the teachers would wish to ask for any query, or if they have any query.
I have a few comments here.
Before, I think as the teachers are thinking, I had a couple of questions.
Sure.
Especially in these times, if you think about it, if I'm a teacher and most of the teachers are women, right? So they're either mothers or daughters-in-laws or sisters. And there's a lot of pressure on them because they not only now have to take care of the teaching through blended learning and online learning, but there's so much pressure on them. I guess they have to cook food, take care of children, and there's so much happening right now. So what is your suggestion? I mean, how do they balance the stress? How do they take the stress away? I mean, this is a question I keep on hearing from all of my teachers, at least, that, we're very excited being at home. There's also good stuff happening, but there's also a lot of stress on us.
Yeah, it's really more on the ladies. You're absolutely right, Atul. And ladies are also, as I mentioned that day to you, we must admit, more emotionally balanced. And they have more feelings, they have more empathy, more love and, caring attitudes. So they are stretched to the limit when such a thing happens and stresses and difficulties come. So what they can do is basically one thing that I really endorse is time management. Often they are locked in things which are not productive, and that is human tendency. And we often get to not streamline our day as best as we can. If we make efficient use of our time, get enough sleep, plan our day a little better, perhaps some conversations which are on the phone, they extend to 45 minutes, they can be cut down to 25 minutes with, with some friend, or sometimes we indulge in gossip also, it happens, and, discussing politics or whatever. So things can be eliminated from our daily routine. Even television news can be eliminated. I'm a great advocate of switching off the television, especially the news. It's better to watch sports or creative things and read a little more. Reading is something which will also give calmness to the mind and in these stressful times. As you said, ma'am, you're encouraging children to read. I would say encourage your teachers to read also.
Absolutely.
And they could not read, or in their own field, things are developing all the time in the world. So new technologies are coming in. Let's say somebody's from physics, some new research, some great ideas of teaching and best practices from across the world. So that will help. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to just add one point here that I wish the community at large would acknowledge the kind of effort that the teachers are making these days, because they're working beyond their hours. Their hours have been stretched, no limit. And I think they are the true Corona warriors and the heroes, of today's times.
Absolutely.
I do agree with this, Vivek, Anju.
Yeah.
There's so much being spoken about all the great work across, but somewhere I think the press and the media have forgotten the work that I think the teachers are doing right now. It's been actually phenomenal. So we thank all of you. I think you're doing a great job. From our side, at a higher educational university, we're also all online.
Shulini is doing a great job, sir. We would like to, I just wrote a message to you. Kudos to Aman. And I think when you are espousing all causes that are very close to nature, it really needs an applause. So more power to you and more power to the students in Shulini.
And more power to everyone. I think with this, we're coming to an end. I'll really like to thank ma'am, Anju ma'am, you and all the teachers of Angels Valley School. My prayers would be, somewhere someone introduced your school as the next strawberry school. I would like to flip it around to say that, it should be that people say that strawberry is the father of Angels Valley. I think that will happen soon, and I'm sure that will.
And thank you, Shikha. Thank you, Shikha, for working behind the scenes.
For making it happen.
Yeah.
So Vivek also, we know you're very, very busy.
Atul, we lost your voice.
It is over. Hopefully we can get all of you over to Shulini. We can do a small offside.
Would love to. Would love to.
Have you here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Mr. Atray.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you.
Have a wonderful day.
Pleasure hearing you all. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.